you can feel that same intense impact from very quiet sounds also. Like something very, very quiet happens and you dive towards it, and it's almost the same body feeling as being hit by something.
Hi, this is Alvin Ro. Today I have the honor to be with multi-instrumentalist and producer Shahzad Ismaily. We are at the end of a very special festival, Monheim Triennale. We're gonna get into it in a bit, but first I wanna quickly talk about your approach to music. You talk about your bass or your instrument as a sort of an extension of your body, and you've mentioned that when you started practicing bass, you went to live gigs and sat in front of the band to study what they were playing, which is what people always do, of course. It feels like your approach is a lot like hands on the instrument, and you're like constantly playing around, often improvising. And I was wondering, is there ever for you like a final version of a piece or of a song, or is it always something that is evolving or could evolve?
That's such a good question, because I think that question really gets at the heart of what I'm trying to figure out right now with composing and with my life, and also as a musician. I feel like what is uncomfortable for me about a composition is that it becomes a set object and it's unchangeable. So you're basically saying, this is the object, this is the meaning, it is correct right now, and it is correct forever as it is. That's so uncomfortable because I'm someone that feels very much like every moment is a bit different, and I want to move as a person with those moments.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out the solution to that, because composition is very powerful. Just today, I was faced with that heavily because I went to the Altstadtkirche, which was the larger church here in Monheim, and at noon, Darius Jones's composition was being performed. And it blew me away so much. It was so powerful. One person was playing vibraphone, 4 people singing, holding a bell, clearly very strongly composed. And the intention and the weight of it just affected me and everybody in the room. And then I played the next set, which was entirely improvised, every note. And when I first went up there, I thought, how can we go up after this when so much fixed intention and power happen? What will we achieve improvising relative to that, And so with bios, with compositions, with photographs, and all these fixed objects that I get asked for, like I get asked for, can you send me your bio and your photograph? And that is already troubling, because you write a little paragraph and then what, is that definitely me? Is it always me? Is it me for that entire year of the pamphlet being produced? It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I succeeded once recently,
Okay.
with creating a composition that had an identity and yet was formless.
Okay.
So what would be amazing for me is like if I could figure out more ways to make a thing that has an identity, therefore it's composed, but is formless, is to do both. So the thing I had written was over a summer at an artist residency with some really lovely friends, and I had a guitar. People were talking about climate change, and I was just playing a little ostinato, like a little repeating pattern. And then what came to me was a piece where I keep standing there and sitting there and I'm playing the ostinato, which is written, and the whole piece is I'm saying goodbye to what I'm going to lose, and I'm saying hello to what will destroy me. And that's the whole piece. And what was amazing is the piece has fixed identity because it has the ostinato and it has the text. But the text is totally formless because there are no words. It's just what I feel like saying that night.
Okay.
So it can hold this feeling of improvised, open, spontaneous, true to the moment, and hold composition at the same time. This kind of piece I can live with.
Okay.
And so I look to do that more, I think. Yeah.
You can accept that.
Yeah.
That's nice. we've seen these days that obviously there are many different languages, either in music genres or instrumentation, notation, a way to pass on sort of a message through music. And what I wanted to ask you is, when you are working with, you are sort of in a sort of position of, let's say, mentor, or like here you worked a lot with kids. What is something that is very important for you, or maybe also just the more natural thing for you to transmit to the other person that is maybe trying to learn something?
I think there's a few things I think of when I'm in front of someone that's a student and I'm in a teacher position. One thing I think about often is I feel like when I go in and out of schools, there's sometimes you walk into a classroom and the energy in the room is dead. Now, I understand. I mean, I'm in a luxurious position. I'm the visitor. I only have to be there for 2 hours. I'm not going to be there tomorrow. So it's easy for me to come in filled with like a plan of joy. Whereas the other person is working there every day and giving their blood and sweat. And so sometimes it's hard for them to.
You mean the other
teacher.
teachers?
Yeah, the
Okay.
teacher, right? But I, starting with saying I understand that, still I want to say what I like to do when I walk in a room and there's 20 students in front of me. I like to make sure that there's a feeling of upward energy and spontaneity. So I start right away asking people questions or asking them to ask me questions. And I never say to a room, okay, raise your hand if you have a question, because mostly no one is going to. It'll be another dead moment. So what I say instead, with a little bit of humor, is I say, okay, the person with the long purple clothing with all the yellow dots all over it, what is your question? Now, that person wasn't planning on talking, wasn't going to say anything the whole class, and they're already put off, but I'm in a position of power, and when I say, what is your question, they feel like they have to come up with one. Then they do, and it's interesting. Then I answer it, then I turn and say, okay, in the green hat, what's your question? And he keeps moving, and then all of a sudden the room is active. That's one thing. Second thing is, I want to genuinely meet someone where they are. I don't care what is the pedagogy of music, what is theory, what should be transmitted. I want to start with, what is that person interested in, and how can I meet them there so that in this moment they feel touched by speaking to each other. So those are probably two of the things. And then the last thing I'll say is, when I teach, I tend to teach right off the top of my head. So if someone says something, the answer I want to give is the one that is immediate to me. Maybe not the smartest one, best one, well thought one, but it's the one that is right there at that moment. So for example, someone said a couple of days ago at some class thing, what's an obstacle that was hard for you in being a musician? And what came to my mind at that moment was, it was a classroom of like 12-year-old kids. And I said, look, you guys, this is a little bit raw, particularly given that you're all young, but it's what's coming to my mind, so I'm going to tell you. And I said, one of the biggest obstacles for me was, it was moments in my life as a musician when I wasn't honest with someone, when I lied to them about something, and then the relationship was broken, and I had to come back from that. So please, I want to say clearly, as someone older than you, do your best to try to be honest in all circumstances, even if it feels hard, because it will be better later. Like, that's what came to my mind. So in teaching, it's usually, number one, get the energy in the room alive again. Number two, meet people where they are, what they're interested in, irregardless of what the class is supposed to be about. And then number three, I tend to teach really from the first thoughts I'm having all the time. Yeah.
I think that something you said of being honest might also relate to what I want to ask you next, which is more related to your work as a producer.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, when you're working on a production of an album, what is the key for you to sort of capture the sensibility of that artist and sort of translate it from the themes, from concepts to the sound? And I have a case in mind that I would be curious about.
Yeah,
but feel free to
bring that one up as soon as I'm done.
The case is The Fool by Young Jesus.
Oh,
because
yeah.
I think that's been a process where you were involved from the very beginning. Like, the songs were born with you part of it.
Yeah. The case of The Fool, it was quite incredible to work with John. First of all, John is a very deep singer, very deep guitar player, beautiful musician. Second of all, before we worked on that record, we did some improvising in my studio in random moments. I met John in some fun circumstances, and then I invited him to New York to visit. No records happening yet. And every time we'd improvise, he would like take his glasses off, throw himself into what we were doing until he was sweating and pretty much crying. And that's the way he leaps into things. And that is an incredible energy to be around, because many of us are a little bit more thoughtful about how do I want to present myself right now? If I play these notes, maybe these notes will feel good. Like we're a little bit more managed. And he was just like, just totally like throwing his body into the water. Very beautiful, beautiful way of being with music. So with that record, it was heavy for him because he wrote lyrics that were very true to his inner world. And he shared them with his partner and said, what do I do about this? And she said, you have to give it to people. And he said, are you sure? Because some of them are very dark. Some of them are about like being angry at people or being abused or abusing or noticing that if you're abused, that's why you abuse. Like all these very, very heavy themes that maybe many of us wouldn't admit to having within ourselves. And watching him accept himself was very powerful. I guess then I felt like my role standing next to him was to figure out how can I hold that space so he can walk into it more. And that had to do with, sometimes it had to do with what instruments are played. Sometimes it had to do with what time of day we were working. Sometimes it had to do with having food around. Sometimes it had to do with taking a break and crying. You know, whatever it was, I felt like my best capacity was to hold both of us in a space where he could continue to walk towards those words.
For me, the physicality of sound, it affects me quite a lot. Like if sometimes more than a melody or harmony or whatever, even rhythm. If a sound is very loud and I feel it like really physically.
I relate to that so much. I love Sono. I played with Ben Frost for a while.
Okay.
Like and I also tend to not wear earplugs, though my mother especially was like, we fucking wear earplugs.
I am at that moment now that I should.
But the problem is, I love that feeling of the impact.
Yeah.
And I love being in front of a loud amplifier. Like, that is my space. And it's very, but what's interesting about that though, is I noticed maybe after playing a lot, you can feel that same intense impact from very quiet sounds also. Like something very, very quiet happens and you dive towards it and it's almost the same body feeling as being hit by something. There's two moments with your body. One is you get into the beginning of the ocean and the waves are hitting you and it feels powerful. Another is when it's dark and it's nighttime and you're in a local park and you walk into the park and nothing is loud, but you just feel similarly taken by the silence and by the darkness. And it has the same feeling, like the same kind of, like something is washing over you.
I absolutely agree. And how does it, like when you are starting working on something new, like is there more, I guess I'm just curious, like, do you start writing a melody or a riff, or do you start like building a sound texture?
So far, all of the work that I do is in the context of playing with someone else. Someone starts a song, and as they're playing, I'm thinking, okay, this instrument, this texture, this sound. And many times, like you're saying, I also appreciate just purely sound. So I may not reach for a melody or rhythm, but just more make look for textures around that person. But when you ask that question, what's exciting to me is that I do hope so much that, like Darius, I can begin to be alone and work from being alone, making a piece with some of the things that I experience playing with people.
Actually, Did you ever release a solo album? Or...
I mean, I sort of did once on a Belgian label called, which is, they're wonderful people. So that's why I mention it to you, because they're very worth mentioning. They're great people. And their album is called Sea Legs.
Okay.
But other than that, like small, like Hello release, I haven't yet. And that one was also just fully improvised. So I still have yet to like make a creation in the way that Darius made this beautiful creation, you know?
So you're too busy.
Yeah. I think it's more psychological than busy. And the busyness maybe is also a byproduct of psychologically walking away from things.
Maybe,
you know? Yeah.
maybe. Well, that's not for me to say.
Yeah. But, you know, I think this year and especially next year, I'm looking for more stillness, which then has the space for making things. Yeah.
Wake. Finally, just quickly would like to mention the signature project that you presented here at Monheim.
Yeah.
You're the other lungs in my chest.
Yeah.
When I read the title, that was everything I knew.
Wow.
And I thought the idea was that here there are a lot of performances, amazing musicians, and there is this sort of a telepathic interaction almost. Like it's crazy that some of the shows, like people are not looking at each other. They probably haven't decided anything.
Nothing, yeah.
No sort of clue, no sort of gesture to each other, and somehow they all shift to something else. So I thought this piece was about this kind of a synchronicity.
Right.
But then you said that it's about something completely different, and I was just wanted to ask you to explain a little bit what the idea was.
So the idea was fairly straightforward in the sense that, like many people, I've been very affected by everything I'm reading that's going on in the world. And in particular in Gaza, and what's happening between Gaza and Israel. So what I loved about the title, You're the Other Lung in My Chest, is it's another beautiful way of saying we can't separate ourselves from each other. I may look at you and think you're my enemy and I should kill you, but really we are still partners in this world. We're still interrelating with one another, and we still owe each other humanity and care. And so it's about really seeing you as myself, and that I take care of you the way I take care of my own self. So in the sense that I can't only take care of one of my lungs. They're both my lungs. There's no way I can only take care of one and then hate the other. It's an impossibility. So it's just maybe a poetic way of saying what I'd like to do is build bridges between myself and someone very much unlike me, someone who might dislike me. That was the first thing about the title. Second thing is, my thought was to give a stage space to people who may not usually speak from that perspective. For example, the Palestinian perspective, or Yusuf being from Kuwait and being Kuwaiti guitarist. Now, I would love your opinion if you saw that set, how it was for you. Yeah.
So super nice. Well, first of all, I really appreciate the way that you presented it, as in, not that I was super surprised, but a signature project at a festival like this is sort of like presenting the stage of your art.
Right, like this is me. Yeah, this is what I do.
You just shared something where you were involved.
Yes.
And it wasn't like you at the front.
Like this is me. Yeah.
And also, I mean, the poetry was amazing, and I don't remember the name.
Sorry, there's Gayat was first in Arabic, and then it's English also. Then Miriam El Hajli sang a song, and then Hala was the third person. Yeah,
this third person, that part, I think the poetry and the way she interacted with it, it was really amazing, because basically she was reading her translation of
Rumi, and then she would just share ideas about
sort
that
of commented on stage, and that was truly beautiful.
Yeah, I thought that too.
That was really beautiful. And I mean, the music, of course, it was also super nice, and that was also sort of improvised.
All of it, literally first note to last note.
Okay.
And in fact,
except for the song.
Yeah, except for the song, yes. And in fact, I didn't even make a plan yet about who would speak when. I just 5 seconds before we went on, I said, "Here's the order," and then we just walked on stage. And I said, "Yeah."
Okay. So, very beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for taking time.